Man at my peephole. Late last night, I heard knocking at my door. It was well into the early morning hours, and I had to force myself out of bed to check who it was. Looking through my peephole, I was horrified to find a rancid-looking man standing before me. His clothes were torn and barely held together, and his teeth bore a sickening yellow and black look of decay. He continued knocking repeatedly, each knock getting faster and faster as I stood there glued to the peephole. He sporadically beat his fist against the door so hard and fast that it looked as though his body glitched as he swayed back and forth and side to side from the force of his own knocking. "Listen, man, I don't know what you're doing or what you want, but please go before I call the police," I shouted through the door. The knocking suddenly stopped, and the apartment fell silent. What felt like hours but could have only been moments passed, and a new sound came emanating from beyond my front door. The sound of crying? I checked the peephole again to find the man with his head held in his hands while his shoulders bounced up and down with his sobs. I almost felt sorry for the guy until the near pathetic-sounding cries devolved into escaping giggles. With his head still buried in his hands, I looked on through my peephole as his whole body began to shake violently. I thought the man was quite literally having a seizure right there on my doorstep and was inches away from opening the door until the giggles he had been trying to conceal turned into fits of insane laughter and mania. His head shot up from his hands, and his eyes were just wild, man. He looked as though he were possessed by the spirit of fury itself, but even so, his depraved laughter continued. He began throwing himself at the door full force, chanting, "I'm gonna call the police! I'm gonna call the police!" in a crazed sing-song voice. The door warped, and I feared he would break it down in his fit of violence. I called 911 immediately and let the man hear that I was on the line with dispatch and that the cops would be there at any moment, when he said something that made my blood run cold. "Oh, but they're not here now are they?" he said sporadically, while yanking my doorknob so hard the door rattled. The kicks began coming in again, more fierce this time. With each hard thud against the door, I feared more and more that the barrier between us would fall, and this psychopath would be in my house, uncaring of the consequences. The door managed to hold true, though, and I heard the man grow tired and frustrated on the other side. The kicking had stopped, but I could hear as he began to heave long and infuriated breaths of anger before, in a voice that sounded more demonic than human, he screamed, "Open this fucking door!" His voice was so hateful, so full of malice and evil that it made my blood, as a 25-year-old man, run colder than ice cycles. He gave one last forceful kick to the door before everything fell silent again. The cops finally arrived to find 47 different boot prints basically painting my front door, and the knob had been kicked so hard that it nearly broke out of its socket. I gave the officers a description of the man, and thank God, that's the last I've dealt with this issue. Let this serve as a warning to you all. The next time someone knocks on your door at 4 in the morning, just stay in bed.